You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Aline, the co-author of the books Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors and The Best Known Roofer. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the leading digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I sit down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you get a chance, hit the subscribe button, like button, drop us a comment, review, something like that. It always helps. And if you want to continue the conversation beyond just listening to the podcast, go to Facebook, type in Roofing Success, and join the Roofing Success Facebook group. So today, we're here with Brooks Strength Roofing and Siding down in Mississippi. How you doing today, man?
Man, doing good. Just looking forward to this Mississippi heat coming up.
It's coming. It's that you can't escape it.
Yeah, I got my summer haircut this past week, and I'm telling you, I walked outside today, and it was 5:45. I left the house, and I reached and touched the back of my neck, and I looked up. It felt like them infrared heaters you see like outside of the bars. And it was in the shade. It just was surprisingly hot already at 5:45. So got a long summer ahead of us.
Long summer, that's right. Well, let's start off and talk a little bit about Strength and how you guys got started and how you particularly got into roofing.
Growing up, like in high school, I would always hands-on. My dad, we were doing vinyl siding and stuff, and in the summers, like most any kid, I got my summer job, and I would go out there and do some help on the jobs and clean up and, take the guys' tools and build stuff, and always, looking for just really hands-on in everything that I did. So, we talked the other day, and I told you, I got right out of high school, actually quit high school to go roofing. Sounded like a good decision at the time. It was a great decision. I was making money right out of high school, and then I questioned myself, about probably 8 years ago, but then got another, I guess, breath of air and got back moving again. We got started in 2003 getting into some metal roofing. It kind of became popular around here. Transitioned out of the siding vinyl siding kind of fell off a little bit, so we got into the metal roofing. And then in 2004 we were doing probably 60% siding, 40% roofing, and so I was doing the siding. I had an install crew, and then I transitioned over to metal and installed for till about 2015, and then transitioned kind of into the office part of it, and like I told you, I was kind of aggravated that my dad put me straight out there on the crew and I didn't come into the office. But, looking back now, I think that was the best thing.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll go back even further, right? So your dad started this company. What year was that when he started? He started
in 1975. He was doing vinyl siding, and then in 1979 he went out on his own doing the vinyl siding and selling for himself. He said, "Man, I could, like a lot of people in this industry, I can do this myself." So in 79 he started, and that's still the same phone number that we operate off of today. The number that he had in 1979, it was a landline house phone. And he's kept the number, and that's kind of one thing that we push, the same number since 1979, because as well as anybody, a roofing company get in here and get some problems, and they just change the number and disappear. It's too easy.
That's right. So you guys have had longevity, and I'm sure there's been ups and downs along the way. Like you were saying, there was a point in time when you were like, I might not have made the right decision. What was going through your head at that time?
Man, after '08, the housing market and all crashed, and we was always doing a increase on business up until '08. It went down and got into just a hole. We still worked, but like everybody, it got really tough. And I always thought that I was going to be an architect, but I don't pay attention enough in school and test, and I don't really do books very good, the book part of it, but the hands-on, there's no doubt in my mind I could do it. But that kind of works hand in hand with roofing, because we do roof overs, we do repitches. Everybody wants to do the roll roofing or TPO or something, and we would rather just reframe it.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
does work good for what we do.
So let's go back to that time, because I think that we are approaching by potentially, by the time this is out, there may be news that we are officially in a recession, right?
Yeah,
Like, there's some things going on in the economy that that we may. So let's talk about some of the recession lessons that you guys learned back then, because boy, things came to a halt.
it did, and I was on the install side of it, so I didn't really get to see as much as the numbers and the office side of it. But we were, steady working. My dad is really good with numbers and money, and that's really important in this industry, especially in insurance industry, is because your money, could take 60 to 90 days to get here. And a lot of times people tend to overspend. And I mean, sometimes I catch myself doing it sometimes, but, and we got this same scare in the COVID.
Yeah.
We opened this new office, and it was March 2020. We hear about this COVID stuff. We're like in the middle of a big remodel in this office, and my dad comes in freaking out, putting signs on the door, nobody come in here. I was panicking, nobody knew what to expect. So it was a scare, but I think what's coming now is probably a bigger scare to me, because I can already see, we're catching up on the supply houses. Supply houses haven't been able to catch up on us. The calls are slowing down. People are telling me, hey, y'all are, too expensive. People are starting to hang on to money already. So I'm already getting some feel of what's coming.
Yeah. And so, with that feeling of what's coming, what happened in the past that you can kind of look back on and say, okay, if we hit this, or change this, or expect this, that'll help us, make it through the next one. Because when you're talking about since 1975, 1979, well, there's been ups and downs, many, many times.
Right. Oh yeah. And it come down to like in '08, we call it trimming the fat.
Yeah.
You gotta see who's pulling their weight, and cut back on any type of overhead that, you guys that are on salary or your office staff. If it came down to it, the good thing about me, if it come down to it and we had to shut the doors for any reason, I'd get back out there on the crew and install myself.
Yeah.
So, you got to be able to make it work. And that's where I think a lot of business owners make that mistake, that they have to depend on somebody else to make the business work. As far as like an installer standpoint, I'm already, I'm fixing to push one of my crews back and say, look, we're kind of, and it's summertime, everybody gets hot, stuff slows down. So I'm already per se trimming the fat, getting ready for what I think is going to come at the end of this year.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the first thing you have to do, to kind of reiterate what you said, is figure out how to get lean.
That's right. Cut the overhead cost. In 2008, we didn't have this office staff. We had one secretary,
Yep.
Probably one delivery guy, and right now we got 4 delivery guys, 2 repair guys, 4 office staff. So we're pretty stout on overhead at this moment. So we're already looking at trying to move some stuff around, because you don't want it to hit and then not know what to do. That's the biggest thing. You got to prepare for it, because it's coming.
Prepare and have a
100%.
plan. Yeah, prepare and have a plan. So now let's talk a little bit about going into COVID. You guys, you had this great idea for this, for this new office, and you started working on it. So let's talk about that. Like, what was leading into 2020? So like 2019, you guys are moving along. That business is good, and then and so that was the intention. Hey, we're going to open this new office, correct?
Right. We're looking to expand. Not really trying to, but kind of getting pushed into having to expand. We outgrew. We had an office that was really low maintenance back, and it was actually in a neighborhood that where I grew up, where lived my mom and dad right there. It was across the street. It was a little small office that we didn't do any type of walk in because, in the roofing industry, you go to the customer's house to sell them. So we didn't see a need for an office, low overhead. We ran on volume, not a lot of money in the jobs, just doing lots of volume. And that's where we grew our business. So I said, we got to figure out how we can separate ourselves because new companies popping up everywhere. I had this great idea to do this building. So I told my dad, and he thought I was crazy. And then I said, well, look at this right here. So we started looking at our competitors and looking at addresses. And I said, our competitors are out there showing people, hey, here's these guys' office. It's not in the best part. It's not in bad town, but not, where we are now. So he said, you got a point, let's find us a building. So remember, we had no idea about the COVID. So there was no way that, we could go wrong by this. So we had done some good jobs and looked for the right building. Like I told you, I wanted something with the high ceilings and the right location, and found this building. So we made the purchase. First thing we do is gutted it down to nothing and start building this stuff. And, like planning the opening day, like everything planned, and then COVID. The building's like finished. Grand opening is supposed to be happening in March, and COVID hits. And so we had to take a step back and, was doing the wash downs and doing all the stuff and freaking out. Wasn't sure if we were going to get shingles. We hear factories shutting down, but turns out it was one of our most successful years.
Yeah.
And I guess it's because people were home. And looking at home improvement stuff, I still hadn't figured out, and maybe it was the money that was going into the economy because of the COVID. There was a lot going on, so we pushed our grand opening back till I think it was June that we did like a grand opening with the radio station and all that. So it was scary for about a month and a half, 2 months, but we got out of it and got back going, and then now here we are again with all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why we were really watching the election hard.
Yeah.
You know.
So I want to go back to one thing that you said. You said competitors were showing prospective client customers, hey, look at these guys where their office is. Look where our office is, or look at our office compared to their office. There, um, so like what I like to talk about in there, it's brand perception,
Right.
right? And you guys have been around for so long, and have such a strong foundation that's a selling point, right?
Absolutely.
That you will be there in the future, and it's just the way that a lot of times that a homeowner will perceive that. And so you talked a little bit about the building, and I mean you guys did something very different with your building than most than most roofing contractors. I've only spoken with one other contractor on the show that had a similar concept, a showroom,
Right.
a showroom for roofing, because in roofing we're going out to people's houses, and that their kitchen table is the showroom
That's right.
in most cases, right? But there's a different a different aspect to it when you build this showroom. So when you were looking for the building, what was the first thing that you were looking for? Was it location first?
Yeah, location. Because I wanted something. We were getting people starting to come by and drop off checks and
Hmm.
coming by the office and picking colors. So I wanted something convenient. So the first thing I looked at was location. Of course, you know, the price was a big factor.
Of
Is
course.
finding the correct location for the correct price.
Yeah.
And then just looking at size for like parking lots, because in the metal roofing industry, it's a little different than how people operate with the shingles, because the supply house drops the shingles, handles all that portion of it. On the metal side, we got 6 trailers, that deck over trailers, roller trailers, trucks, dump trailers, and all. So I wanted somewhere that we had gotten big enough to where we needed a central location to keep our trailers, to keep extra metal. If you could see the behind this building, and this has been it, I've wanted this forever, and then I just haven't had time to get it organized. But eventually I plan to get all my shelf. I wanted a warehouse to stock overstock material. We work on the weekends. We work past when the supply house is open. So the location, the size, the parking lot, all that stuff. I was looking for this exact place. I just didn't know it at the time. Uh, so when we found this place, I said, "Oh, this is perfect." The price was right where it needed to be.
Yep.
We couldn't build this for what we paid for it. And then went a little probably overboard with the remodel. The main thing that I wanted was just office space and a conference room, and then the showroom just kind of fell in there because of the style of the building that it was. So it all worked absolutely perfect for what we were looking for.
Yeah. It's probably going to be difficult for us to explain this on the podcast, right? Without someone doing a tour of your building. It's let's try to explain like
I
what
mean,
you
I could
envision.
turn my camera around if I needed to on my computer.
I don't know if it'll work well, but like if but someone people can go to your website and strength roofing and siding.com and maybe to your Google business profile and look at the pictures of the office and things like that to get a better visual of it. But so essentially, you know, really nice building, high ceilings, and when you walk in, what was your concept of how you wanted this to come together? What were you thinking when you were kind of designing it?
And I may have told you this, but so it was a funky little parking lot. Like the building was barn red. I'll have to send over. You'll appreciate these before and after pictures. I'll send
Yeah.
some before pictures, because it was actually a bar. Then it was a pool place. Then it turned into a church, and then they shut it down. Well, the door was always on the wrong side of the building. Like you would pull in and have to walk around the building to go inside. So that was the first thing that we come in. And, like I said, we had no plans. Just I could vision this in my head. Me and a buddy, one of my best friends, that he does remodels, and we were just sitting at lunch one day, and I said, "Man, I think we're going to get a building." He said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "A showroom." And he said, "For what?" I said, "Man, just trust me. Just let me explain." So I started explaining this idea. We started sketching stuff out on a napkin. We find this building laid out 2x4s, and I said, "I want the entrance here. We want to do this. We want to put parking right here in the front, warehouse in the back, move the fence. Uh, Got the slate waterfall when you walk in beside the receptionist desk, couch, fireplace for the wintertime." So I wanted a good homely feel. And then I threw some stuff in, to make it feel like you were basically outside, but you're inside of our building. And that's where our office is like outside, because we sell hardy siding. Before COVID, we sold windows, but now, we can't really get windows. So we kind of
Yep.
scratched that. Uh, and then we got other little buildings that are mocked up for, we store files in there. So it all kind of, we couldn't have got a better building, for what we wanted to do. And,
Yep.
and I don't know why, but Jackson, Mississippi is probably the lowest paying state in the country, but I'm telling you, the competition here is just unbelievable. And, I come from a racing background, so I feed off competition. Like, I love competition. And my main competitor, he loves competition. And so, I told you a little bit,
Yeah.
we kind of became, well, like everybody, we were going to do I'm going to help you, you're going to help me. And then we both kind of went our separate ways and didn't talk for a while, and now we're back talking. But anyways, uh, and he's building a new building now, so he's got to kind of one up me, and
Yeah.
so it's fun, but it's good. It's good for business because we're always pushing each other to grow.
So when it visually, looking at the pictures of going in there, it's like you almost built a little town inside of the building.
Yep.
Right, like you're sitting in your conference room right now, and there's a roof on it, and there's and there's wall windowed walls and things like that, and then you move over and there's another little house, and it has a different look and feel, and so it's a way for you for one of them is a garage with a metal roof, right, and things like that. And then so what you're saying is that's usable space inside that you're using for files or storage or
It
office
is,
use.
like the garage door actually opens and goes into the warehouse, so it's all
Okay.
connected. So when we bring stuff in, like my dad had a rat rod truck that he had built and had an old ladder rack, and we had it hand painted, and it used to sit in here, but now we've kind of moved some more displays in, uh, and just put pictures up on the wall, and just made it feel, not only that we're established because we've been here since '79, but these guys are way too deep to back out. If a customer they come in and see this, they're not going nowhere. There's no way that they're going anywhere.
That is funny. You're in way too deep to go away now. Like this is
Oh,
all.
I'm way too invested. I mean, I'm stuck roofing.
That's right. That's awesome, man. And so when you were thinking about it from when a customer visits you, what were your thoughts there in the look and feel of the place?
Just to have them somewhere to come, as a meeting point. We'll do weekly competitions that say, hey, who can sign a contract at the office? Anybody that can bring a customer to the office, I'll give them an extra $500. So they'll be scrambling trying to bring somebody in, and people will come by to drop off checks. We got new construction. We do a lot of new construction with the metal side of it.
Yep.
So people will bring their plans. And, before I had a plastic fold out table, and I was like, man, how can I charge top dollar for my roofs on bringing somebody in, and we did this one really big commercial project. And I think that was the deciding factor for my dad to get on board with this. So we did this really big remodel on 25 apartment complexes, put trusses on them, put hardy siding on and roofing. So huge contract. This guy says, hey, I'm going to come down from Indianapolis and I'm going to stop by y'all's office. And I was like, oh, man, this is going to be a deal breaker.
Yeah.
He's coming into this part of town, and this is our office. I mean, there's just enough room for like 3 people to park. He's going to park on the road in a neighborhood and come into this little office that's unorganized. This could be a deal breaker. So it ended up not being. And so when I pitched that to my dad, I said, just look back and think of that. And he's like, yeah, we got to have an office, because we want to be we're on the higher end of the market here.
Yep. And that's again going brand perception, right?
That's it.
It's just the perception of how your potential customers will look at you and think about you. You have a brand, whether you know it or not, and you are expressing that. So when they come to that, kind of the little neighborhood, and you got the plastic fold out table, and that's what's going on. There are things that you are communicating to that customer
That's right.
in that manner. When they walk into your showroom now, you have a different level of communication. You have a level of you are communicating your value and
That's right.
why you are worth paying the premium.
Oh, we're going to be up there probably right there at the most expensive. I mean, but
Yeah,
we're going to go. I will do anything I got to do to make a customer happy. I will lose money on a job to
yep,
make a customer happy. So and people, they say, well, I want the cheapest price. That's fine. That's probably not going to be me.
yeah.
But you pay for what you get. We've been doing it a long time, and I still personally go to probably 40 or 50% of every job that we're running. I mean, right now I'm a little scattered because we're doing 25 to 30 a week, but I mean,
Yeah.
I'm all over the place and trying to build a house. And I got friends building houses that I'm helping, and I just got way too much going on. But and that's why I told you I might not make it today because of all the stuff that I had going. But it's all in the image that you put out to the customer. How do you want the customer to look at you?
Yeah.
You know, do you want to be the cheapest guy? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. That's how we grew to where we are. Is we've been the cheapest guy with no office. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but where I was going with the company, I felt like this is the move that I needed to do to get to my next level.
And that's an understanding of yourself and how you want to run your business, right?
That's right.
Everyone there is not one specific way that will work, right? You can
Correct.
be let's look at it. There's the low cost leader. We're talking Walmart, right? Then you got your Target, right? Then you got your Macy's and Nordstroms and
Yeah,
all the way up to the very high end boutique stores. But each one of them just have a different they have a different customer in mind. A lot of times
that's right.
they understand who they want to serve. Um, at that lower margin level, you may have a wider audience.
Yeah, yeah, but it's crazy, but it's like the more you charge somebody, the happier they are.
A lot of times,
When
a
you
lot of
do somebody the favors, the really cheap jobs, and you do the favors for these customers, they're never happy. I've still never understood the concept behind that, but I promise you, the people that you drop your price, and I think it's the on the front end when you show that you pull your guard down, you drop your price, you give.
yep,
It never stops when the job's done, and so you know I started seeing that pattern there, and that's when I said I got to get myself into the higher paying jobs, the bigger jobs. We wanted to go towards some commercial stuff. So when I'm doing a $2 million project, these guys need to. I got to show establishment if they're not going to just go with Pete in the pickup to do a $2 million apartment complex.
that's right.
So I felt like that was where I needed to go in my mind. But like I said, we got to where we are by being the cheapest
Yeah,
and
yeah,
by doing volume. So and you can still do them bigger jobs when you are, but now with the overhead I can't drop my price,
yes,
20%, 30% because there's margins that I have to be at to make this whole business work.
that's right. That's right. How has the ability? One of the things you mentioned with the new office and the way that you put it together is ability to overstock. You mentioned that.
Oh,
How
yeah.
did that help you? Was that a helpful situation, especially through the supply chain issues that contractors have been facing?
Yeah, like and we buy bulk on a lot of things like geoseal sealant, mastic tape for the metal roof, and screws 1x4s for the roof, and not really as much in the shingles side of it. But I have been here lately putting stuff back here, stocking, just not necessarily. We were looking at buying a few truckloads. Uh, I guess it was kind of right after COVID hit, and I said, "Well, we got to get a couple of truckloads." But when I started doing the math, I said, "Man, that's only going to keep us working for 2 weeks. A week. We're running through a couple truckloads a week. It's not really worth stocking that, but." Once again, on the metal side of it, we overbuy a little bit for the trim because they pre-make it, so it has to be made a day or two beforehand. So when I have that overstock of some drip edge or gable fascia or something, I bring it here. And then if my guy runs short, he can run up here to the warehouse and grab one piece because we use the same manufacturer
Yep.
always on the metal. And so we're creating a little overstock by over ordering, and not really for the it's starting to get a little hard to get again.
Yeah.
The shingles are. So I don't know if that's the best thing, but we looked at doing some felt, but the numbers. I like to look at numbers and do stuff that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I've talked to guys that did, make really big purchases on felt or big purchases on shingles and things like that, and it worked out well for them. But it's a gamble at the same time, right?
Right.
You don't know what's going to happen and where things are going to go, and so it definitely comes down to the math and the risk involved, and you got to make those decisions. So in being in business, I mean, you guys have, really it's been a slow growth, right? Up to the level that you're at. There's probably been some years that took off a little bit more than others, but um, you know, it's been slow and steady, hasn't it?
Right. Yeah.
Or was it just was there a specific time that was like, hey, we were a small company, and then all of a sudden this happened, and we had to adapt.
Uh, it was probably really slow and steady until like I got into the office and kind of looked at the numbers a little bit hard. Like I said, my dad, he's not really a computer guy.
Yep.
He's really old fashioned, pen and paper, no computers. So I would say it's been pretty steady until about, I would say 2015. It kind of stepped up a couple million right in that area. Yeah, and then we kind of plateaued off, and that's when, like this year, I've done some rearranging, hired a couple new people on, hired a sales manager to kind of oversee my sales force instead of me trying to do it all. I mean, one person at this level where we're doing volume, one person can't do it all, and I try, and I have been, and I still am until I get everybody trained. Uh, we're hiring project managers to oversee. Like I said, we got delivery drivers, doing these things, and hiring canvassers. We're actually hiring right now. If you know anybody looking for a job wants to move to Mississippi, we're hiring salesmen and canvassers. But so I hired a guy that I've known. I've actually tried to hire him for about 7 years now, 8 years. We've known each other for, man, 15 years, 16 years. And, he actually worked with us a little bit in on the job stuff, nothing in sales. And then he went into sales and been 13 years at a beer company. So he's been shaped and molded into the manager guy. I mean, comes in wearing slacks and, shirt tucked in and bringing it to that next level. Like I said, I'm an installer, and so I have to look at it from a professional standpoint. And that's why that was my whole reason with bringing him in to handle everything.
As you guys have grown, there is, what kind of to the point that you were making is all of a sudden you get to this point where you're like, wow, I can't do all of this, or we need to make a shift to take it to the next level, right? To get into the next level. As you were growing, who were the first like key positions that you were like, man, I wish I hired that person sooner?
Looking back, I wish I hired my sales manager sooner. So because, and I didn't see this until here recently, or a salesman,
Yeah.
right now, up until 2000 and I guess 17, I was selling for a couple years, and then when I said we got to get some salesmen, and so we got a few salesmen, and I didn't really structure it to where it is now, commission based. We had some guys on salary that, would give the farm away to sell a job. And once again, that kind of got me to where I am. So there's nothing wrong with that, but just,
Yeah.
you got to be careful, and you don't want to overpay a guy. I feel like I might be overpaying some now because they get a good check and they're not as hungry, like my sales manager, Matt, said today, they're getting full at the table now. So, I think you got to continuously bring in fresh blood to kind of get things going, to stir things up. But the key person I would say is a sales manager. When you hit that, I would say 3 million, 5 million gross mark, somewhere in there, bring in a sales manager and then add on sales guys, start them out canvassing until you can generate enough leads. I mean, the worst thing to do is just get 3 or 4 people and just keep upping your leads. That's not going to grow your business. That's going to actually hurt your business, because I've already done that. You get more leads than than a human can actually run. I had guys trying to run 8 and 10 leads a day, and that's not even possible if you do it right. You should only have two or three leads a day
per rep.
Yeah, per rep. So, and that's going to come with advertising, and you can't just bring in 10 guys at a time and train 10 guys. I guess you could, but that you would have to physically shut down to train that many reps, and so we try to bring in 1 a month. Is what our goal is right now. I told Matt, I said, I want to get about 10 reps. We got 6 now. So I think the happy number is about 10. I think is where I'm
that's good advice too, is don't try to hire everyone at once. Because you won't be able to put personal attention into that person. You won't be able to, people fail sometimes on their own accord, but sometimes because of lack of training. And if you don't put that training into them and give them the right, the right amount of effort and knowledge and the resources that they need to make themselves successful, you'll have a lower rate. One of the things that you guys are, and this is what's cool about business to me, is that it's ever evolving, right? So now you're sitting here and you're like, oh, we're doing really well, and now we have this sales team and we have a sales manager, and then all of a sudden we're looking at it going, oh man, at the beginning we wanted to pay this to get this off our plate, right? Like I'm gonna overpay for this position because I want to get this off of my plate, right? So I'm willing to pay this. But then, especially on the sales side, I always find that there's a struggle with a lot of contractors in balancing the goals of the company with the goals of the reps. So it sounds like that's something that you guys are feeling right now.
Absolutely. And, I feel like it's hard to put an exact, because, the storm season can change things. We always busy in March to, when school starts back, and it kind of fluctuates, but March, April, May is like our busiest time. Then we kind of go down a little bit and then get back up. So your hiring is really hard to base it in there, because if in a perfect world, let me back up some. So a perfect world, I would hire a sales manager as a project manager. I would say, this is your job. You're going to be a project manager. You're going to stay on the job. You're going to learn how a roof goes on. In that project managing time, he's learning the products. He's watching the install, so he knows what he's selling. It's very important to know what you're selling. I got a guy right now that probably couldn't tell you how a roof goes on, and he's one of my top salesmen. It's amazing, but I think he would be even better if he knew. So a perfect world, I hire a project manager. He project manages for about 2 to 3 months, gets the really good hang of that. I give him a percentage. I give him a base salary, a percentage on anything that he can canvas, and then I take that percentage out of the sales guy's percentage, so it doesn't cost me anything. So then he moves into the sales position after he trains a new project manager. That was my plan. Storm hits. I'm scrounging for guys. I got leads coming from everywhere. I'm like, hey, just find me somebody who can close a deal. Go to the car lot. Another friend of mine that I've known forever, we've been talking about him coming over here for years. And he walked out of a very good paying job. He was the biggest finance manager in Mississippi. And he calls me. He's like, I'm done. I'm ready to sell a roof. I'm like, dude, you got to wait a minute. I mean, we're in the middle of a storm, So I thought I was going to put him out there as a project manager until I said, you know what? Here's just some dead leads. Turn these dead leads into jobs. Well, he gets on the phone and he starts selling dead leads. And I'm like, wait a minute. This guy don't need to be a project manager. He's going straight out. So then, the leads keep coming in and they're overflowing. And I'm like, bring me some guys. So I kind of went against what my plan was. But now we've leveled off to where I have a project manager that I'm training to be a salesman.
So that's an important point. And sometimes we think that things should go this way. And especially because you come from that side. Right.
And see and it wears my sales guys out. They're like, I can walk up to a roof and I can look at a roof and I can know within about 2 or 3 square how many squares it's going to take, how much profit's in it, and how long my crew is going to take. Yeah. That's the key here. And so I got some crews that can do 60 squares and I got some that can do 20, so I'm trying to juggle crews to make sure that I'm most productive, because I don't want to put a guy that only does 20, put him on a 25 square job. Well, then he wastes half his day, so that's the background that I come from. And that's what, I have a really good project manager that's a salesman now, and he's going to do really well this year because of that, so he's looking at it from my perspective.
Yeah. I'll just for the discussion, I think that's a great thing, right? When you have a level of knowledge that when you're at that kitchen table, the homeowner feels it.
Absolutely.
But there is another aspect to that, and this is kind of you're hitting the yin and yang here, right? You're right on the like in both of these situations, because there are people that are skilled at sales that honestly don't need to know as much.
I got one right now. My car salesman.
That's what we're right. This is just for the conversation. I think this is a good point in the conversation, because sales is a skill in itself.
You can't teach some things in sales.
Right. And so and a person that is a good salesperson is good at asking for the sale, and they know when to ask and how to ask. And when you may have a superior technical knowledge.
Oh, it's I know where you're going with this. It's so funny that.
Right. But when you're going head to head, like if you're going head to head, like that person with superior technical knowledge may feel like, there's no way they're not going to go with me. I have the superior technical knowledge, but they forgot to ask for the sale.
It's exactly what goes on. So my project manager can sell the job. I mean, knows exactly how it goes on, tells them everything, gets down to the money and freezes up. He said, I just can't ask for the money.
Yeah.
And then my car salesman, he tap dances around on how the roof's going on, and he sells, like, all my finance stuff goes to him. He sells stuff, and they never even ask. It's amazing. It's amazing. Like, they won't even ask the amount, just how much is it a month, and then they don't care how you putting the roof on.
No.
And then this other guy here is trying to sell, and when he gets to the money part, he can't ask for a $25,000 or $30,000 sale, but because of that. And it's funny. I was laughing when you said that, because you're exactly right. It's hard to, I haven't found that happy medium, but and that's why we do weekly sales meetings, role playing and all that type stuff. And I'm always going to call out the guy who can't ask for the money. You know,
Exactly.
when it comes and we get into our sales meeting and I ask a question, they're like this. That's the guy that I'm calling on, and he knows it. You know, he knows it. The ones that are staring me in the face, I'm not calling on them because they gonna ask for the money. They can't wait to tell me. You know,
They can't wait to ask for the money,
cannot
right?
wait.
And so,
It's so funny, man. I tell you.
yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, but you know, but you do want people out there that are representing your company, right? In a you know in a very knowledgeable way. You want people to look at your company and say, oh, you know, Brooks came to my house, man, and I couldn't believe how much he was able to explain, and break down all the things that we needed to know to do this right versus but boy, that person who skirts around it and asks for the sale will
They
win.
could get you in trouble. They could get you in trouble.
It could get you in trouble for sure.
But
I've
that's
heard plenty of stories, about especially when it's going because of I know you guys you go above and beyond, right? So
yep.
it's above and beyond. Oh no, we'll take care of that for you. We'll take care of that for you. We'll take care of that for you. Just sign right here. Well, boy, they don't realize what comes into taking care of this and that for you, right? So there's a balance there.
There is, and he don't have as high as profit margins as my other guy.
Okay.
My other guys that do the pitch, and then I got some guys that are happy medium in there that are
Yep.
very consistent and do that. But that's where I was going to say that's why the one that don't really know a bunch about the install, I give him all my finance stuff. Like I'm looking at location and my really good high end leads. He's not going to get them because of I want to know exactly what I'm doing on them type jobs, and so does the customer. They're gonna be the ones that are on Google researching the product, and he's gonna get in a trap on something like that, and it's coming. He hadn't got that guy yet, but he's gonna find him. He hadn't found him yet. He's been here for about a month and a half, 2 months, and he's selling a lot and he's doing good, but he hadn't run across the right person. He's bullcrapped his way out of a couple of them, but he hadn't run across that engineer guy.
The engineer, and that's the other thing too. The people buy differently. Like I'm a thinker, and so when you present something to me, I have to know all of the details before I buy. So a person that skips over the details, they have a hard time selling to me, right?
Yep.
And so a lot of times it's learning the nuance of who you're talking to and then being able to explain it to that person, because even if you overload someone that doesn't care with knowledge, they don't care. Are you
Oh,
going to put
exactly.
the roof on? How much is it going to cost me, and how much is my payment? Right? Like
Finance. That's your finance people.
Yep.
They don't care how it goes on.
That's right.
How much is it? What's my payment?
What's my payment?
They don't even care about the total price. How much is it a month?
A month.
And how fast can you start?
Yep. And so understanding that, and I've heard this a lot of times, and this is a good thing to point out that you just said, is you're dispatching your leads according to who you think might be a better fit.
That's where I was fixing to go with this next. I was going to touch on that and it's really hard because I finally got some good office staff now. The girls that are in here answering the phone and dispatching the leads, and that's where I got to get my sales manager. Once he gets trained to where he knows that this guy's good with the old ladies, this guy's good with the farmer, my engineer guy goes here. We're getting to where we're fine tuning them leads. Right now I said all the finance stuff goes to Derek. That's my car guy. And he's brought his other car guy in. And I said all the finance deals go to them. So we're pinpointing them a little bit, but not as granular as I want to. And that's where I think the sales manager position is going to fix that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Brooks, what do you think the greatest insight is that you could share with our audience that's helped your family, find success in roofing?
I think the absolute most important, obviously everybody will agree on this, is a happy customer. And when I say happy customer, put the money aside, put it all aside. There's nothing more important than making a customer happy or fixing a repair if somebody has a problem. I mean, it's more important than money. It's more important than anything. Like if I have one guy, and this is how serious I am about it. If I got one guy and he's got a 2-hour window, he can either go over here and pick up a check for $30,000 or go fix a chimney that's leaking. He's going to fix the chimney. And that is, and I tell all my guys, I said, that's the most important aspect. That's the only thing that's more important than picking up money is a repair. Because if you're in roofing, you have problems, you have leaks, you have complaints, you have broken flowers, scratched window screens, or there's always something, little stuff especially when you're doing the volume. So that's where I really, really focus. That is the main goal. I mean, I have a lady right now, and I don't know if this one counts because she might be a little scattered, but she had a tree fall on her house, tore the back of the house down, rebuilt the porch, just went over and beyond to do this porch. And she's all mad, or she was mad, and said, "Oh, we got these problems. We come to find out after some digging, she had spent the insurance money." So I kind of talked to her, and I called her off guard because I hadn't been handling this. I kind of left the office, so it was time for me to step in as the owner and say, "Hey, here's what we're going to do." I said, "I'm going to fix everything, whether you pay me the $8,000 that you owe me. I don't care if you pay me or not, but what I am going to do is I'm going to make you happy. I'm going to come fix everything that you got a problem with, because at the end of the day, you're going to be happy. Now, if you choose to pay me, that's your point. I'm going to turn you over to collections, but I will make sure that you're happy." So a day goes by, and so I'm supposed to go meet her, and she says, calls me and says, "Hey, everything looks good. I talked to Kaylee. I got the payment, and I got it done. No need for you to come by. I'm happy. Everything looks great. Here's your referral." She's sending me referrals. Went from unhappy, not going to pay me, to paid in full, sending me referrals, all because of the conversation that she knew how serious I was with a happy customer.
That's awesome, man. That is how you keep your customers happy. And an unhappy customer can be a perfect source of referrals for the future.
Oh, man.
This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more revenue through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com to get a copy of the book, The Best Known Roofer. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. Thanks for listening.